Plague of Light, 1 of 6, on glowing wing. When the jungle speaks, it never tells all. Others may hear its words, or sense its wants. I read its signs. These are present in the hooting and clucking of monkey troops in the treetops. I find them in the scurrying of insects across the forest hard dirt floor, in the chittering of parrots, the crack of woodpecker bills plunging into the trunks of trees, in the shifts of billowing heat in the pressing humid air, the smells of rotting fruit and crumbling bark. Dawn comes, trading darkness for morning shadow. Scant light penetrates the jungle canopy 100 feet above. There is danger here, the jungle tells me. Whether I determine its nature in time, that is my test. To prosper amid its hunger, I must demonstrate my capacity to sense and survive, to again prove myself the eater, not the eaten. My eyes seek prowling beasts. As expected, there are none. Only scattered scrub bushes dwell in the blanket of shade laid down by the great sky-seeking trees. They offer poor hiding places for ambushing leopards. A boar or hyena pack would easily yield itself to view. At worst, a dangling liana might conceal a young viper wrapped around it and sharing its woody coloration. It is what I can't hear that alarms, the sound of people. Though faint, I should be able to make it out by now. I am on my way to my adopted village, Nagali. There should be the low murmur of dawn-time conversation, the grinding of pestle against bowl as the women make paste root into flour. Children should be laughing. From the direction of the village I hear only its chickens, and the distressed bark of a dog, and a distant hum. Flies. It is the buzzing of flies. Heart quickening, I speed my pace toward the clearing where the Nagali huts and storehouses stand. I overleap an outcrop of rain-smoothed rock, dash through cottony webbing strung between lianas by a fist-sized spider. When I was exiled from my own tribe, the Nagali gave me shelter. Their great father, Mepatika, served me palm wine and told me both their outer and inner myths. Their great mother, Nawapo, ladled out boar soup and told me my bearing reminded her of her son before the foreign fever took him. With the Nagali senior hunters, Shokam, Wabara, and Bebang, I tracked duikirs, speared crocodiles, and faced a demon-heart jaguar. Once Mpatika offered to perform the ritual of rebirth and made me new again as a Nagali. Though honored, I could not turn my back on who I had been and what I had done. He said to me, "You are of the wandering tribe now, Zasi, but later you will be ready and we will claim you then." Then he smiled and placed his rough, firm hand on my shoulder. And now I rush from beneath the canopy into the clearing and see the Nagali slaughtered. Their bodies lie strewn as if they were taken unawares while performing their morning tasks. Fresh corpses dangle from the thresholds of huts and from the communal storehouse. All have been taken, children, women, and men. No defense was mounted. Spears hang in their racks, shields prop beneath them. Mepatika lies face down on the porch of his talking hut. I recognize him by the width of his shoulders and his deep green skirt. Nawapo slumps inside. I see her eyeless face and I shudder. No weapon, Mwangi or foreign, performed this act. This is not the predation of beasts. The bodies of my friends have not been bitten, clawed, or trampled. What was flesh is now red pulp hanging from the bone. Only magic could have done this, and strange magic too. I see the magician step out from behind Mpatika's hut. He carries a wizard's artifact, a complicated instrument of yellow-brown metal. It is a wheel, filled with other wheels, which turn upon and inside one another. Their action confuses the eye. The man is an outlander, his pale northern skin reddened and flaked by the heat of our nearer sun. He is new to the expanse. He has yet to abandon his steel armor. Sweat darkens his straw-colored hair, pasting it to his forehead. Hair, like the husk of a grob fruit, ashamedly hides the lower portion of his face. When he sees me, I have already sprung into the air. He reaches for a blade at his hip, but before sword can clear scabbard, I am on top of him. His device falls into blood-muddled dirt, and my knees pin his elbows. He thrashes his legs, but I am well positioned and strong, and he cannot throw me off. Through a haze of fury I behold his protesting face. It sputters pleading words. He babbles in the so-called common language. The foreigners credit its words to themselves, even though it was the river otter who invented it, and we Zenge of the jungles, the first two-legged beast to learn it. I could understand him, but do not bother. The thunder of rushing blood is all that I can hear. The rage is in me, and I raise up my spear, ready for the killing blow. In my mind's eye, the act of righteous butchery performs itself. I envision the tip of my blade piercing his winter-born throat. Beneath me the spellmaker will shudder and die. He will die on Nagali land, and will go to the Nagali ghostlands to serve the spirits of my friends as a wretched slave, until that nether-realm day when all spirits fade forever. I tightened fist around spear haft, but the thought of Nagali ways brings to mind the code I was raised with. Despite my exile, I still cling to it. In this adherence lies my last remaining link to my own tribe, the Ara. A life taken is a debt incurred. This is what Ara, the first hero, taught his descendants, who took his name. When a person takes another life, he accepts all of his obligations and must discharge them until the end of his days. He must live his victims' lives for them. The killing price weighs heavily on me already. Twice have I incurred it. 2 sets of obligations I must shoulder. The first cost me my place in my tribe. The second forces me to dictate detailed reports and have them sent to people I will never meet, in a dimly imagined land I will never see. Such is the price of taking a Pathfinder's life. Of this body outland wizard, whose throat I now stand ready to pierce, I know nothing. Of the debts I would bear, I can only guess. I stay my hand. I'll find a punishment for him that costs him more than it does me. Wrath draining from shaking limbs, I find the meaning in his heavily accented jabbering. "I didn't do this," he cries. I pin him tighter. The buzzing of carrion flies grows louder, more insistent. "If I spare you, it isn't because I trust the words of foreign sorcerers." The northerner grunts in disbelief. "Sorcerer? You spout nonsense, jungle man." He follows my gaze to the mysterious instrument. That was given me by our prophet for hire to figure out what's causing this." "Causing this?" The northerner stops struggling, letting his head wearily fall back into the mud. "The firefly plague." I parrot his words to be sure I heard them right. "Yes, firefly plague. That's what killed these people. A swarm of carnivorous, glowing bugs." "Continue," I say. "This attack is but one of many. The plague has hit us in Free Station 3 times now. I am Thorold of Ulfven. I work for the Aspis Consortium. Let me up, and I'll tell you the rest." The name of the consortium grants me little ease. That organization's greed has done much to harm the Mwangi expanse and its people. Yet in these words rings the possibility of truth. I remove the sword from his belt and slowly stand. He keeps his hands in view as he weaves to his feet. "You are up," I say. "Now tell me of this firefly plague." "The insects come from the dark of night in glowing swarms. They feast on flesh, tearing it from the bone, as you see with these poor souls here." "They were your people?" "No. Yes." The foreigner reaches out a consoling hand, then thinks better and withdraws it. "I came here from Ulfven with 2 shield friends, Svadi and Hildur. When the glowflies first descended on Free Station, Svadi was devoured. Hildur, strong of thew and with sea-hardened flesh, lingered for a horrible day ere he died. Had I not been in Bloodclove at the time, overseeing a shipment, I might now be feasting beside them in the halls of the gods." His sadness, I decide, is genuine. "What brought you to this spot, then?" "Plagues impede the smooth conduct of business. My employer sent a number of us into the jungles armed with these devices." He picks up the instrument to rub the muck from its surfaces. Now accepting his tale, I let him do it. "They're paying a god speaker to solve the mystery. She gave them to us in hopes of tracking disruptions in the cosmic balance, or some such. Do not ask me to decode her mystical maunderings. I am a trader and explorer, a man of practical gifts." Thorold freezes. His milk-weak complexion turns paler still. He looks over my shoulder, behind me. What he sees terrifies him. I imagine the cloud of flesh-eating fireflies come back in daytime to finish their meal. He gestures for the return of his sword, and I turn to face this soundless threat. A gorilla shambles from the forest into the clearing, graceful and silent. He is large for his kind, over 8 feet high. He walks out on his knuckles, as great apes do, but with upright spine, as a man. It wears a lopsided, snarling expression. The left side of his muzzle bears the signs of past injury, partly torn away to expose the gorilla's upper and lower fangs. The hair around the ruined side of his face is streaked white, as if bleached. Thorold speaks without moving his lips. "Toss me the blade. I'll draw him this way. You hit him from the back." The great ape pauses, resigned but annoyed too. "That won't be necessary," I tell the Outlander. "This is my friend, Arik. We had arranged to meet up in Nagali to hunt with the people there and share a feast." Arik waits while I explain him to the Northerner. The Ulfin asks the expected questions. He fears that Arik comes from the city of Usaro and worships the dread demon ape there. Arik is no ally of the Gorilla King, I assure him, and certainly no demon. Tell him that my friend was born an animal and awakened by a nature priest. "As I said," the Outlander repeats, "I am a man of practical gifts. The ways of druids are beyond me." He stares at Arik for a moment, then at me, then at his empty scabbard. His shoulders slump, in grudging trust. Only then does the ape venture close. Thorold has not inquired about Arik's scars. That is a question only children dare ask. Then Arik sees the bodies. Though he came here less often than I, the Nagali were his friends too. He doubles over in grief. He screams at the sky. He sniffs around the encampment. Falling back to animal habits, he briefly knuckle-walks, then resumes his sky screaming. Thorold wants his sword back, I can tell. Arik's bereaved shrieking damps the fires of my anger, but only a little. When Arik is finished, I have Thorold tell Arik what he told me. For the first time since his arrival, Arik speaks human words. "I feel it when coming here," he says. "Very bad feeling." His deep voice purrs like a distant waterfall. "Evil magic?" He shakes his worried snout. "Bigger than magic." I wait for him to say more. Unlike men, Arik does not speak before he has finished thinking. When he does, he uses an ape word. The apes don't have many of them. Like any animal word, they are hard to write and impossible to say. Let's say the word is Urunner. Urunner means the world, but it also means nature. We humans, along with the dwarves and elves and others of the mortal races, aren't of Urunner. We have stepped outside it. "Urunner is not right," Arik says. I nod. Thorold is confused. I wonder how I will explain this to an Outlander. The Mwangi peoples are closer to being of Urunner than others, or so Arik has hinted. But if the word was a fruit, I would only understand the outside peel of it. "Urunner is angry," Arik says. "Urunner killed our friends?" I ask. Arik unhappily tips forward his crested head. "No, that's not it," he's saying. While Thorold watches, the two of us set about digging a pit. It is large enough only for Mepatika and Nawapo. Only the Great Father and Great Mother are to be buried. They will dig to the Ghostlands, and the other spirits will follow in the tunnel they make. It is harmful to the spirit if its body is buried, the Nagali say. The king and queen are strong enough to make it unscathed. Or perhaps their spirits will be extinguished by the effort as a final sacrifice for their people. One never knows for sure what happens in the Ghostlands. The rest of my friends will be left where they fell, to be eaten as carrion. Hyenas huddle in the forest fringes, snorting impatiently. Vultures wait in the sky above us. "Urunner didn't kill our friends," Arik finally says. "But it is wrong. Part of it is wrong, and must be righted. Till then, Urunner doesn't know what enemy to strike. Blindly it lashes." It is decided. Without the need for speaking, Arik and I will go with the Outlander. It may help this company profit to hear what Arik's animal senses have revealed. With spear and fang and claw, we may aid them. We will see what can be done to stop this plague. Gently, Arik and I carry Mepatika and Nawapo to the grave and lay them in it. As we push the dirt over our friends with wooden spades, I realize what we are doing. We hold the last Nagali funeral. We are not far from the village when the hyenas bound in, snarling. The sound of water calls us north, to the bank of the little Vanji. The Northerner wears his fear like a cloak. He leaps into the air, grabbing at his sword, when a shell fruit drops from the canopy above. It lands with a crack on the hard earth. Ants disgorge from the ground in the thousands, as if suddenly born. They swarm over the broken shell of the fallen fruit, carrying its meat away in wet red chunks. Half a league on, we find a beached reed boat. A corpse lies inside, sprawled across a set of jagged fishing gaffs. Fat crocodiles encircle the boat, ready to fight for the carcass. A few yards away, their brethren tear into the remains of 3 other fishermen. It is not the crocs that killed them. All, including the dead man in the boat, bear the wounds of the firefly plague. Distracted by the easy feed, the crocodiles pay us no mind. We retreat back into the bordering jungle nonetheless, circling around. Arak curls his lip, the unbroken part of it, anxiously. The 2 of us are well equipped to fight most hostile creatures we might find out here. Against a cloud of carnivorous insects, we have no defense. Thorold speeds his pace as the little Vanji draws nearer its mother river. At the confluence between the 2 lies the town of Free Station. Its sunburned founders built it to squeeze themselves free of the consortium's iron hand. It would be better than Blood Cove, they said, as if there is a difference between one foreign trade post and another. To judge from the Ulfin's words, the Aspis has burrowed its way in there too. They are like termites. There is no good trunk on which they will not dine. Yet they might prove useful allies against this plague. Termites are determined, and industrious, and many. Free Station comes into view. Arak stops and lopes back into the trees, for the ape refuses to set foot in Outlander settlements. He will find us when we are done. The Ulfin grows taller and straighter as we approach his adopted village. Free Station has grown since the last time I saw it. It is half a foreign town, half a Mwangi village. Houses in both styles ring the meeting point of river and tributary. The foreign buildings are made from Mwangi woods, cypress, ironwood, and kiat. Their shingled roofs already rot and buckle, victims in the rainy season. The thatched coverings of the platformed huts, replaced each year, are new and fresh. They are made like those of my people, the jungle Zenge, of which both the Ara and the Nagali are sub-tribes, but inhabited mostly by ocean-going Banuai. A hush of terror smothers the town. Free Station's traders and workers stride quickly through Free Station's sodden, winding streets. They dart from building to building, reading the sky for insect clouds. The fireflies come at night, Thorold says, or have so far. This gives us no great courage, not even with the sun high overhead. How many dead in all? Several score. My employers fear Blood Cove will be next. We cross a small wooden bridge into the town. At first I am ready, even when accompanied by one of their own. A Zenge man carrying a spear and wearing a boar fur headdress might not always expect a welcome in such a place. But the furtive traders paid us no mind. I asked my next question, having already guessed the answer. And this prophet of yours? She communes with the 2-faced god. He pats his pack, where the strange instrument is stored. Her services are costly, but she is reputed to enjoy strong divine favor. I am about to say more when I see someone I do not wish to be seen by. I shrink back behind an abandoned foreign-style hut. Built on a poor foundation, it sinks already into the Mwangi earth. The undesirable quickly traverses the town's wide main laneway. His wary gaze travels from side to side, not skyward, as if he has more to fear from his fellow man than from flesh-stripping fireflies. A Bekyar headdress of flowing linen covers his head. Its simple cord headband has been stripped of clan symbols. His white tunic and leggings are dirtied and worn, but he wears a new pair of northern boots. He mutters as if rehearsing a grudge. Thorold proves himself wise. He waits until the man has passed to inquire, "Who is that?" "A non-person. Take me to your Nethys priestess." It is no surprise that the Consortium counting house is the largest of Free Station's buildings. Thorold escorts me inside, past nervous Banuai guardsmen in aspen livery. We creak up a cocked staircase to a third-floor room. Incense colors the air, sandalwood, burnt nutmeg, cockatrice oil. Hesitantly he knocks on a battered door, its paint peeled by humidity. "Enter," commands the voice inside. "My lady priestess, I met someone in the jungle who—" Look who the cat dragged in, says the woman inside. Oh, bye, I say. She perches, posture arrow straight, on the edge of a padded wooden chair. She is of the weird and ancient mousy people. Her cheekbones are high, her complexion tinted with ash. Draped in interfolded robes enlarge her skeletal frame, wrapping it in deep-dyed reds and purples. Around her mouth are raised ritual scars, a series of dots each the size of a delicate fingertip. Those on the left side of her lips curl up, extending her mouth into a smile. Those on the right curve down, giving that side of her face a frown. The scars declare her oneness with the great god Nethys, distant and inscrutable guardian of arcane secrets, maintainer of cosmic balance. Her frown smile says that she is, like him, always her own opposite. Where's the ape? She asks. In the forest, waiting. Of course. You know each other, Thorold says. He has allowed himself to give voice to the obvious. Obai judges him for it. The left side of her face is amused, the right side condemning. Thorold continues. Then the two of you are both of the scarred ones. There is no such group, I say. Obai smiles and frowns. The elfin can't help himself, and the man-ape as well. With his finger in front of his face, he traces the pattern of Arak's scars. You are all scarred ones. Have you the sextant? She asked him. He removes the instrument from his pack. She places it in a stand on a wide table among 5 identical objects. The devices whirl and click, and Obai studies them intently. With a distracted wave, she dismisses the northerner from her presence. He meekly withdraws. I tell her what Arak sensed about the urner. Obai nods. His perceptions align with the sextant readings. Thorold got closer to the imbalance. Its resonance partakes of both the divine and the natural realms. A nature god, then. A tilt of her head suggests agreements. Local, but powerful and angry. We must do what must be done when gods are displeased. And what is that? Appease them, naturally. Her words lilt with the usual amused contempt. Your god does not mind you pleasing another? Obai stares at the instruments again. She neatly inscribes a line of Mauxi hieroglyphics across the surface of an unfurled papyrus scroll. Nethys, in his totality, contains and circumscribes all other gods, which are but contesting manifestations of his sublime balance. To please the displeased, or to distress the contented, is to pay my twin-faced master homage. From her robe she produces a folded booklet, its pages dark and browned. A Codex of the Kembi, she says, made from the pressed bark of a fig tree, which has not grown there for 1,000 years. The Kembi are a long-departed people. Their ruined civilization lies in the jungles to the east. By Nethys' grace, I have decoded its odd pictographs and rendered them into speech. She holds up the booklet. A drawing shows a firefly hovering over a stepped pyramid. Hunters sometimes stumble across such structures buried under mounds of choking vine. They are to be avoided as wells of bad magic. This is Ketumu, she says, the firefly goddess. Quite carnivorous when awakened. Like many of the jungle godlings once known to the Kembi, a voracious demander of human sacrifice. I shiver. She turns her smiling side my way. If we are detecting unstable mystic energy of a divine and natural residence, and our problem consists of devouring firefly swarms, it is reasonable to conclude that Ketumu, mother of fireflies, has awakened and is hungry. We must find the goddess and feed it. Dicey work, certainly. Local gods are trouble. They let you get so close to them. I don't like where this is going. And have you chosen an adequate meal? I ask. Her face grows grave, only her scars lend it expression. I'd hoped the readings would lead me elsewhere. There is a boy who lives in the jungle outside town, a member of an orphan band. Such child tribes are too common now. Their parents interfered unwisely with foreign trade and were extirpated. He comes occasionally to beg for scraps, Obai says. The other children mistreat him. They say he's cursed. Apparently the curse's sign is a birthmark over his heart in the shape of a fly. A firefly? We will need to see it more closely. It's been several days since he was last in town, when the first of the attacks began. The other orphans don't share with him, and he'll grow hungry soon and come in. And his name? The orphans call him Wanduk. It is a Zenge word I know all too well. It means accursed one. For 2 days the priestess and I, along with Thorold and his fellow Aspis traders, fan out through the town, waiting to catch this Wanduk. We know him only by description, and accost many orphans, none of whom bear his mark. On the 3rd day Obai and I hear a boy-child's screams of protest. They come from the patch of scrubland west of town, and I bound forward, the priestess lightly following. Bekyar slavers surround the boy. Other children rush from the scene, unpursued. The slave-takers want only this single scrawny orphan. There are 7 strong-shouldered men and a fat captain armed with a whip. Without warning or preamble, Obai corrects the imbalance of forces, scourging them with divine fire. The men shriek, their clothes and flesh consumed by Nethys' ire. The men holding the boy stand outside the bursting flame, and one of them hoists the child high on his hip as the others turn to fight. I plunge among them, my weapon striking high and low. They fall, squealing and groaning, like the coward slavers so often are. I am not a cruel man, but their pain is one I exult in. They flee my hateful spear. The boy is running too. Obai faces the fat, whip-wielding one, and I leave her to it, fearing to intercept the boy. He stops, stunned, as he watches the priestess lay hands on the fat man. The heavens howl as the big-bellied slaver is reduced to dust and bone. On the boy's chest I see the insect birthmark. It is a firefly. "You are Mwanduk?" I ask. He nods. "We've rescued you," I tell him. This is not the same as saying that we are his rescuers, and so is not quite a lie. Obai and I dash him to the consortium counting house, before more slavers appear. Once there, we sequester the boy in a room and converse privately. "The Bekyar are involved," she says. I know. They were interested only in the boy. Yes. If the Bekyar are involved, I shake my head. He's in town. I know. I saw him coming in. Obai smiles and frowns. Nethys moves his pawns. He provides tools to restore his balance. "No," I say, "but the battle is lost, and I know it. If it's slavers against us," she says, and her words have the ring of finality, "we must fetch Verkusht." The end.